Recently, I decided to take on one of vanilla Terraria's most grueling challenges by fully completing the bestiary. And I don't just mean discovering everything, I mean by filling out the page for every enemy in Terraria, which would involve getting every single banner in the game. At first, this goal seemed a bit pointless and way too time consuming, but after gathering all that I already had, as well as a stupid amount of hours of mindless farming, completion was finally in sight. So after all this, I decided to use my newfound knowledge of Terraria's banner system to create a short guide on everything you need to know about them, as well as what makes banners so useful. Starting of course with the buff that they give. When placed nearby, banners increase your damage against the corresponding enemy by 50% in normal mode and by 100% in expert and master. This is absolutely huge. If you're having trouble fighting off zombies in your first few nights, a banner will make the progress dramatically easier. This is also great for making farms more efficient and helping out with invasion-based events. Like if you have to fight off Martians 2 or 3 times to get a specific item, banners will make it much easier to repeat. The same thing applies to the solar eclipse, pumpkin and frost moon, and literally everything else. On top of the damage buffs though, banners also allow the player to take 25% less damage from enemies in normal mode and 50% less in expert and master. Both the damage and defense buff are going to be very useful throughout all the game due to the use of percentages, which means that the numbers scale based on what weapon, enemy, and difficulty you have. I also wanted to quickly mention that there is one minor exception to these buffs, as enemies from the Old One's army won't be affected by banners nearly as much as every other enemy, with the buffs being 5 times less powerful. Speaking of the Old One's army though, that leads me on to my next point, which is the way that banners drop. Generally, it's really simple, kill 50 of something and you get a banner. Easy, but certain enemies like all of the Old One's army, and many of the much rarer ones, require a different amount of enemies to be killed. 1,000 Ethereal goblins need to be killed to get their banner, while only 10 rune wizards are required. This pattern continues for quite a few of Terraria's enemies, making some banners much more achievable. Throughout my collecting process, I found this to be insanely useful, as killing just 10 Dr. Bones took around 4 hours of straight farming. Now, maybe I was being a little inefficient, but at that rate, if the banner required 50 kills, you could drive from Chicago to New York City, then take a flight from New York to a 2-hour layover in Lisbon, Portugal, and then another flight from Lisbon to Paris, and you would still, within all that time, only have one banner. If you haven't already figured this out, this was the worst banner to get out of all of them, which, to me, removes the general consensus that the nymph banner is the rarest one, like many people say. Moving on from drop rates, I want to quickly mention some interesting uses for banners that I've discovered over the time that serve more specific purposes. First, the Wall of Flesh spawns imps on the Further Worthy and Get Fixed Boy seeds, but these aren't regular imps. They have much faster fireballs that are unblockable, and this can become a major obstacle in these fights, especially when you're already playing on some of the most challenging seeds in the game. Since these imps are still obviously imps though, banners can help out a lot, and an imp statue can be used as an easy way to farm out a bunch of banners for your Wall of Flesh runway. You can also use this same pattern for every other boss that spawns extra enemies, because most of those will have their own banners as well. Another great application of banners is just simple reinforcement. They can be great at protecting areas all around your world. Having banners for zombies, demonized, green and blue slimes, possessed armor, etc. in your forest base is a nice way of preventing any trouble in that space. I find this especially useful when making arenas in dangerous places like the Crimson, Corruption, or Underground Jungle. Hollowing out large areas like that usually funnels all of the spawns straight to you, so banners help out a lot. Finally, the use of enemy banners that I wish I saw more of is decoration. Banners like the Paladin are great for medieval builds. The Dracomire banner would be cool for, I don't know, but they look really cool. My point is that some of these banners look great, and I would love to see them used a little bit more in the building scene. Anyway, that's all for this one. As always, I'm trying to beat out cool math, so subscribe, have a good day, and bye bye.